Welcome back to the Market Wolf. I am the Market Wolf, and this is Wolf Pack Chat. And I've been doing some thinking about oil, about cryptocurrency, about gold, and just a general pattern that I'm seeing possibly developing here. And it's a little bit disturbing to me, to be honest. Um, I'd like your input on this. I want to start with oil because that kind of is the hitch for this whole thing. And I definitely want your opinion. So leave your comments on X, leave your comments on YouTube so that we can have this discussion. But I've been watching oil and I've been pretty much convinced that it is going to fail this breakout. However, one thing that I am taking for granted, and one reason I might be changing my opinion, is when I'm looking at momentum. And then I see some other indications in the market that are a little bit disturbing. The Biden administration canceled their oil buy, which isn't surprising to me. They said they're waiting for cheaper prices, or they didn't say that, but they said it's too expensive, right? Well, from what I looked at, if I'm remembering right, when I did the averages, I think the government average buys is somewhere about $30 to $40 a barrel when they're looking to restock the supply. So that's essentially where I'm looking to buy or lower. But so I'm not worried about missing out or in my position or anything. I'm willing to wait as long as it takes, but that could be longer than anticipated, right? Hopefully you already had some gold and silver positions, physical. I don't do paper unless I see some kind of really great short-term gain. And granted, with silver and with gold, it could be on the charts to a degree. But in any case, oil, it looks like to me, is what I've thought is it's set to fail. But I'm wondering with the momentum if it isn't going to come up and complete this cup now and put on a handle. And overall, when you get a cup and handle pattern, typically that's a bullish pattern. So maybe during that time, we start to get just major amounts of volume coming in on oil. But I'll tell you why I'm concerned about that, because if that is the case, if that does play out, then you've got gold going up at the same time, you've got oil going up at the same time. And I believe we're right on the cusp of stagflation at that point, because we already have hours being cut for different jobs because corporations are trying to save money. But this quantitative tightening cycle hasn't ended. Likely the Fed's going to keep these rates where they are, at least for a little while. And we haven't even seen the full results of the hiking yet. That hasn't worked its way through the market. I'm assuming the M2 money supply is still pretty high. I need to look at the chart. Maybe I'll throw that up on the screen here if I get a moment. And and you got a lot of money, I believe, in these 5% accounts, SPACs, and those types of things where, the government's giving you a pretty good interest rate to just kind of park your cash there and avoid volatility. But there's a lot of money. There's trillions, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, just parked and waiting to invest even more. But as we see probably some of these middle of the road kind of white collar jobs start to get cut at these corporations, we've already seen major cuts in the tech sector to a certain degree. But if that really ramps up, and if we see layoffs ramping up everywhere, if inflation is really double peaking, it sets some fairly terrifying prospects for stagflation. So that means you can have inflation, very high inflation, high gas prices, high oil prices, and lots of layoffs and the economy not really going anywhere. Now, how long that could last is anybody's guess. There's a lot of speculation about what happened with Nixon, and it seems like we're coming up on one of those time periods because that's the last time we really experienced hyperinflation. Nixon was in office. He had set some he had done some kind of really what you would consider almost things like FDR did, as far as trying to control the market, and then at the end of the day, Bretton Woods and just cutting off gold completely from the dollar. All of these things could have been an issue. That and oil, OPEC tightening up oil supply so much in the 70s that, the speculation is, well, it wasn't really so much Nixon as it was the oil. Well, maybe it was all of the above, and maybe we're in a situation right now where we're looking at possibly all of the above with the weird stuff that's going on, because we've printed off an incredible amount of money. I say we, it wasn't my choice. Stupid. Now I want to get into crypto a little bit, because the last run up we saw in crypto, see, if gold keeps going up and oil keeps going up and we do have some hyperinflation, well, let's just call it inflation. Let's hope it's not hyper, but even more inflation, if we get a double top, then, I would expect Bitcoin to keep going. I would expect crypto to keep going up, and essentially see a lot of different assets melt up to a certain degree. We'll have to see what happens. Even if the Fed cuts rates, you have to keep in mind that at those times, that's typically when a recession hits. The yield curve is still inverted right now. It could be timed in such a way that the yield curve begins to uninvert as we are getting rate cuts. And while many people think that's super bullish, that actually can lead to big pullbacks, very big pullbacks. So at that point, maybe you see Bitcoin come down with the S&P 500. One thing I have noticed, this isn't all the time, but I have noticed that Bitcoin does lead the market to a certain degree with the S&P 500. So you can kind of tell when the S&P 500 might have a pullback, because you begin to see that in Bitcoin first, and vice versa. If Bitcoin is beginning to move up, the S&P 500 will typically follow. They do essentially run together, which is why when I started out in crypto and I realized that, I started watching the S&P 500 and the dollar a lot closer. So in any case, I don't want to make this too long. Just wanted to say that, yeah, I mean, for me personally, I've just got dry powder on the sidelines, park it in these 5% accounts, and, got a little gold, got a little silver, invested in crypto, and I'm just waiting. I've been waiting for oil. I'll continue to wait for oil until I get the price that I want. It looks like that's what the government is going to do. I do know that oil, apparently, OPEC started tightening the supply back in November, and we've actually ramped up production here in the States to attempt to kind of loosen that a bit so the gas prices aren't horrible. I'm sure the Biden administration is going to try and do whatever they can to make the economy float by here until the election, at least. And so, yeah, I'm waiting. What I figured out, and I'll share this with you all, is that I'm pretty darn good at spotting 10 to 20% moves in the stock market. And what I realized is that the amount of time that it takes me to spot those moves essentially correlates in an equivalent fashion to just finding a long play over a period of a year or two, and possibly getting an 80 to 100% return on oil if you buy at the right time. So yeah, why should I take heavy risk when I can simply park into a 5% account, hedge my bets with gold, Bitcoin, silver, quant, whatever, you know, and at the end of a year, just, what you got, like, yeah, at the end of a year, you've basically made roughly 60% just sitting, you know? Um, so that's fine by me. Now, my philosophy of investing is a lot different than the typical crypto degen. I am not a crypto degen. I don't invest in crap coins, and I'm not looking for extraordinary gains in a short amount of time. I'm looking for long-term gains at an incredible payout in 7 to 10 years. So that's why I'm invested in cryptocurrencies like Quant, for instance. I'm hearing some rumblings out there. Maybe you all can share with me about Quant and exactly what's going on with Bitcoin. I saw somebody post a meme, a friend of mine. I want to say, no, I'll get the name wrong, but I'll throw it up there if I get a screenshot. In any case, what's the situation? Is Bitcoin going interoperable, like for real? Is it actually going to pose a challenge to Quant? These are things we need to know. I mean, look, I love Quant, but I'm not invested in, like, I'm not emotionally invested in my bags, okay? It's an investment. I expect it to pay out. I expect Quant to do well. If they can't get it together and they can't do well, which, I mean, it looks like they have been. It looks like they have been. I have posted some critiques. You can look at those videos to see the critiques on returns for the company itself. I've got those videos up. But, you know, I'm the first one, as far as I know, to track that information down and to put a video out on that. There were larger influencers that did put that out a couple weeks after I did. They may have come across my video. But look, I'm an investor. I'm not looking to put a rosy spin on anything. I don't have like any loyalty to some certain company. If they can't get their crap together, then I'm going to pull my investment and go invest where some company has got their crap together. That doesn't make for like a very exciting narrative weaving in the crypto world. Like if you're looking for an influencer or somebody like that, I am not an influencer. I am not taking money from anybody for any of this information. I'm an investor just like you. That's why I'm asking questions here in Wolfpack Chat. I hope we get some participation. And you all let me know what you think about oil. Is it coming up? Is it coming down? Is Bitcoin going up and down? What's going to happen with that? And maybe some of what I've said gave you some different ideas, a new perspective. If you can, share that and let me know what you're thinking now. I know that kind of going back and forth with these ideas helps me, because while the charts are a great indicator, basically, I'm at a point right now with the oil where I'm looking at it, I'm like, 50-50. Almost siding towards, maybe it is going to be a bit of a breakout, especially if it goes up to that cup and handle level of around 90 something. Yeah, it's a possibility. I mean, it just doesn't look good overall. The overall profile and the higher time frames don't look good, but I have seen cases like this before where that momentum swings around from a low and it's just like boom, takes off, and you're like, I wish I'd been in. But that's not the scenario I'm looking for, because it still wouldn't be giving me the percentage turn to risk reward that I want to take personally as an investor. I know there's other people out there that want to go in on these. I don't want to bother with the taxes for 10 or 15%. It's just, for me right now where I'm at, that's not worth it. But, once I'm investing much heavier, then 15% will be worth it. It'll be worth the taxes. But anyway, that's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm thinking. What are you thinking?